Good morning. Great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. And yes, I'm going to say it again, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious morning. Yes, the beautiful reminder of choice that you have, I have, that we all have to give meanings to every moment of our life. Now sit in that for a moment. There are innumerable moments in your life. Oh, here's one right now. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. See, it's the meanings you give things that lead to a vibratory state, and that vibratory state is the attractive force in your life. It's what determines what you are attracted to, what you're repelled by, what's attracted to you, and what's repelled by you. And I want you to notice how it all starts in thought. In the kingdom of heaven, enter ye into the kingdom of heaven as a child. That's some wonderful advice. With that, it's important for you to understand that the kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of thought. And from there, then link how a child operates. They're imaginative, have very little fear. See, it's us as we grow older that engage with that fear because of the worry and doubt that's been embedded within us subconsciously because of the paradigm that's been built. But if you go back to a child, I mean, look at what they can do. They can fly to the moon in a box. Think about that. That's amazing. And that's what you must do for you if you want to actualize your results. And that's what we invite you to connect with. That's what's being shared with you here in what we've been studying in The Secret of the Ages. And if you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do have a copy of it. And yes, read it. Yes, underline what's in it, highlight it, and even memorize it. But more importantly, beyond all that, apply it in your life. And that's another important principle for you to connect with too, as well, that information is not power. Knowledge is not power. It's only potential power. And the only way it becomes power is when it's used. So we invite you to use what we're talking about so that you can experience it and move through it and then ultimately shift your results, which means you've learned. That's what we invite you to connect with here, with everything that we're talking about. You know that if you go about and talk with other people who have all that knowledge and studied and gone to seminars, webinars, and they're frustrated, confused because their results aren't changing, that's what you can trace it back to. A lack of implementation. Implementation consistently and persistently enough to shift the inner narrative to the point where it comes automatic. Because that's the only reason why the change hasn't happened, why it's not lasting if it was achieved and then goes back to more of the same. It's about changing that paradigm. And again, that's another thing that we invite you to connect with as well as we maneuver through this. All right, so you ready to dive into this, my friends? Ready to dive into where we left off in The Secret of the Ages? Type in the comments, I'm ready. And then from there, we're going to go for it. We're going to do it. We're going to lock into this. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this up so that we can connect more with this wonderful, beautiful information. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, so here, from where we left off, well, first of all, we're on page 91. And Robert Collier was talking about prayer and how true prayer happens in secret, not out and about everywhere, saying it out loud and being one who desires to be seen. No, it's what's happening secret, like in your closet. Nobody's paying attention. Not something you do verbally, it's something that you do within. It's what you're connected to emotionally. You know that those prayers, those ones, those are the ones that are responsible for the results that you have right now. And what's beautiful is you can intentionally shift it to be something much different. But this is where it requires your work, your loyalty, your connection to whatever that ideal is. And to also remember that you've got to connect with it as if ye receiveth it. Not that you're going to get it, not that you're going to receive it, that you have received it, that it's already yours. Neville Goddard talks about this beautifully, so many ways, about living your life from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to get out of want. You know that statement, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And that's what the instructions are here. Now, with that being said, he says, this is the kind of prayer the psalmists of old had recourse to in their hours of trouble. This is the kind of prayer that will bring you every good, perfect gift. No matter what your situation is, no matter what's happening in your life. If you're overwhelmed, you can change that if you just connect with the idea that everything is organized and calm. You don't need to know how you're going to get there. You just need to connect with that inside. Make that your prayer in your heart, and it'll start showing up in your life. Now, make no mistake about this. Prayer is effective. It can do anything. It doesn't matter how trivial your desires may be, if it is right for you to have them, if it is right for you to pray for them. Now, remember, though, when we think of prayer, we think of this, this with the hand. And really, it's not that. Yes, this is beautiful, and I feel really wonderful when I do this. There's a lot of power inside of it, but that's not what really prayer is. And prayer is a stillness inside of you, a calmness inside of you, an emotional connection to an idea that's happening in you, and you're feeling it. Now, according to the United Press Dispatch of May 3, 1926, wow, this is really cool, 1926, prayer belongs to the football field as much as to the pulpit. And a praying team stands a good chance of getting there. Tim Lowry, Northwestern University football star, told a large church audience here. Just before the Indiana and Northwestern game last year, Tim said, "We worried a great deal about the outcome. Oh no, what's going to happen? We don't know. Then we saw that a bunch of big Husky Indian players, we saw a big bunch of Husky Indian players coming toward us, and we knew something had to be done quickly." That's their opponents, big dudes. Their team must have been called the Indians. Or Indiana players, I should say. I didn't see the S there. "Fellows," I said, "I believe in prayer, and we better pray." We did, and we won a great victory. Now, what's fascinating about this is that what they did was they prayed right. They didn't pray hoping for victory. They prayed connecting with the idea of victory. When the next game came, every fellow prayed again. You don't need to think that churches have a copyright on prayer. And again, with that being said, prayer is something that everyone does, even those who don't go to church. And prayer as a force, Maud Royden compares the man who trusts his desire to prayer with the swimmer who trusts himself to the water. That's a beautiful analogy there. Let me give you a very simple figure, which I think may perhaps convey my meaning. Now remember, we're in use mode right now. If you're trying to swim, you must believe that the sea is going to keep you afloat. You must give yourself to the sea. And by the way, it's the same thing for a pool as well. In this case, it's the ocean. There is the ocean, and there you are in it. And I say to you, according to your faith, you will be able to swim. I know perfectly well that it is literally according to your faith. A person who has just enough confidence in the sea and in himself to give one little hop from the ground will certainly find that the water will lift him, but not very much. He'll come down again. Persons who have enough confidence really to start swimming, but no more, will not swim very far because their confidence is so very small that they swim with such rapid strokes and they hold their breath to such an extent that by and by they collapse. They swim 5 or 6 or 12 or 14 strokes, but they do not get very far through lack of confidence. Persons who know with assurance that the sea will carry them, if they do certain things, oh my God, are you listening to that? If they do certain things, will swim quite calmly, serenely, happily, and will not mind if the water goes right over them. Oh, you say that person is doing the whole thing? He can't do it without the sea. You might hypnotize people into faith. You might say, you are now in the ocean, swim off the edge of this precipice, which is really a cliff. You might take him, you might take them, you might make them do it, I should say. They might have implicit faith in you. You might hypnotize them into thinking they were swimming, but if they swam off the edge of a cliff, they would fall. You can't swim without the sea. I might say to you, it lies within you whether you swim or not. Ooh, did you catch that? Lies within you whether you swim or not. Here he's saying that to that person, and that's the same thing with regards to life. According to your faith, be it unto you. But if the sea is not there, you can't swim. That's such a great. If the sea is not there, you can't swim. Oh my God, that's amazing. That is exactly what I feel about God. According to your faith, be it unto you. Yes, certainly if you try to swim in that ocean, which is the love of God, your faith will be rewarded. And according to your faith, it will be to you. In exact proportion to your faith will find the answer. You will find the answer, like a scientific law. There's not one atom of faith you put in God that will not receive the answer. Now, here I want to remind you of this faith that he's talking about. And to also remind you that none of us really have an issue with faith. We have an issue with belief because our faith is directly proportionate to what we believe to be true. So what he's essentially locking into without saying it is the importance of you believing. I can't. Guess what? Whichever one you believe, you're right. In this case of swimming in the ocean, remember, if there was no ocean, you couldn't swim. Well, here's this life. Maneuver through life, and without this life that you're in, which you can clearly see, you're supposed to be moving. But guess what? If you're tapped into a lack of belief that you can't do it, I guess what? Guess what? Well, that's what your faith's going to be, and that's what you're going to deliver your results. According to thy faith, so be it unto thee. But remember, you would not plant a visible seed in your garden, a valuable seed in your garden, and then a day or a week later go out and dig it up to see if it were sprouting. You know that if you do that, you're going to kill what you've planted. On the contrary, you would nourish it each morning with water. It is the same with your prayers. Don't plant the seed of your desire in your subconscious mind, then go out the next morning and tear it up with doubts and fears, with worry. Nourish it by holding the thought, by holding in thought the thing you desire, by believing in it, visualizing it, seeing it as an accomplished fact. Now, notice here he's talking about using your imagination. By him were all things made, and without him was not anything made that was made. By imagination were all things made, and without imagination was not anything made that was made. Most people are either a slave to their imaginings or a master of your imagination, and it's the latter that delivers the freedom you seek. You want calmness inside? You want more calmness inside? You want more achievement than what's been happening in your life? You want more happiness, more joy, more success, more money? Well, that's going to require you to first see the idea and then from there be loyal to it and believe that you receive. It's not going to happen if you're constantly emotionally involved with things as they are. Remember, never look at your results as anything personal. They're telling the truth. They're telling the truth of the ideas that you are emotionally involved with. Oh, let me correct that. They're telling the truth of the ideas that you have been emotionally involved with. And the best part is you can change the ideas that you're emotionally involved with. Remember that question I asked of you that every one of you knows the answer to? And I love this example. Will you be able to be happy most of the time if your mind is saturated with sadness and disappointment? And what's the answer? No. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, if you've been feeling stress, if you've been feeling all that, are you going to be able to deliver a life that's the opposite if your mind is still saturated with those patterns that are in harmony with that? No. See, it doesn't work. Things are not brought into existence by thinking from their opposites. You've got to consent to the new idea and be loyal to that and stay loyal to it until the change happens, until it shows up. And one day you start to say, hey, something's different, but you don't know what it is. What's different? And then as you start to really look at it, you realize that for the first time, you don't have to remind yourself to think those thoughts because now it's become a habit. Change your habits, you'll change your life. Now, before we proceed, I went a little longer than I should have for those of you who are live stream, so surprise. With that being said, if you'd love to dive into more of this, into the rest of this call, which there's going to be a lot more, and to access the recordings, then do yourself a favor and go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You will thank yourself later. Now, let's proceed with more of this beautiful